Hello, everyone. So here's the situation. We just finished up carnival time. It is February 20 something. Thank you. The door was closed and the cat objected to that, as she objects to a closed door anytime she sees one, regardless of how interested she is in what's on the other side. So anyway, here's the situation. We just finished carnival season, as I'm sure everyone, well, I don't know when people watch the videos. So if you're watching this 6 months from now, hello from the past, and I hope things are going well in the future. And I am making this on February 20 something. So we just finished a very short carnival season, a pretty fast carnival season. And then next season, 2027, is even shorter than this one was. So that means even less time to get so much done, and we all have so much to get done. So what I'm thinking is this, and what I'm going to kind of plan to do is like hopefully weekly, and y'all feel free to fuss at me if I need assistance staying accountable there. I'm going to try to come in here at least weekly and just pop a live up. I'll do it during the day, during the night, whenever, but you can watch it whenever. And my plan is this. My plan is to do 3 shoes a month for 10 months. So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So I guess we're starting February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. So I miscounted both times because that's kind of where I am. And honestly, we're all kind of a little bit fried, but I think one of the, I won't say benefits, I won't say pros, I won't say cons, but one of the aspects of kind of a short carnival season is you do kind of make it to the end of the season with maybe a little bit more creative energy. So I think a great thing to do with that, I'm noticing it because like I popped up on my Instagram, like what workshops are people looking for? And people are responding very enthusiastically. Like, I want this and I want that. And I have never figured out how to do this. And like, let's do this. I want to do this workshop and that workshop. And I want to do a party. And like, I want to do all the workshops. And this is kind of what I'm thinking. So clearly there's some creative energy still flowing. And I think there's always creative energy flowing in this beautiful city. But my plan is this. Let's get started. Let's get going. I am going to start with some chill shoes. We're not going to jump into anything crazy or structural, though I am, over the course of the next 10 months, absolutely going to walk y'all through stuff that is crazier, stuff that is, crazy is a strong word, stuff that is more laborious, more energy intensive, requires you to let go of your perfectionism a bit more. But we're going to start with very chill shoes. And as a reminder, I ride in the crew of muses. I'm a muse, sing muse. I am mostly going to be working on shoes, but things are adaptable. And if there's interest, I'm happy to talk about how things would adapt. But in general, and when I'm talking about throws, I'm going to be talking about shoes. So the reason I hopped in here today, partly just to get the ball rolling, because as I mentioned, creative energy, blah, blah, blah. Part of why I hopped in here today was I started clearing my room, cleaning up my craft room, reorganizing everything, and doing what I call a hard reset. A soft reset is kind of I clear the space, I put a few things away, but mostly I'm not really getting too deep into it. For me, a hard reset is like I clean everything. We wash the rugs, we wash all the brushes, we put all the jars away. And so at the end of the season, what I will typically do is I'll go through all the jars of glitter that I have out that I've used, and I'll kind of triage. So I have begun that process, and I figured while I was triaging was a great time to grab the first couple of things I need for my 3 shoes. And I also want to say, I know I just said I'm going to do 3 shoes a month for 10 months. I will obviously do other stuff besides that, but I'm going to it's kind of like, marathon training. We're going to do a little at a time and kind of ramp it up. And in the months where it's a little more chill in the summer and we have a little more bandwidth, we're going to do slightly more involved stuff. And then if we have a tough month, a month where we maybe aren't running on a ton of extra bandwidth like this one, we're going to do chill shoes. I said 3 a month, and what I'm actually going to do is, because my sister and I both ride, I'm actually going to do like 6. I'm going to do 2 designs, each of them 3 times. And so if I do a design where you're like, that's maybe not my favorite, I'm just going to do that once, or I'm going to skip that entirely, by all means. Or if I do something where you're like, I really vibe with that, I want to make a dozen of those, by all means. My objective is mostly just to kind of give a step-by-step, because I pop on and work on whatever I feel like working on, but I think it's helpful to kind of, you know, cut it into little bite-sized pieces, you know, break it down into pieces and take one piece at a time. So where we're going to start this month, and I will show you kind of the what I'm doing with my glitter with this in mind. This month, the 3 and 3, we are going to do king cake shoes, because those are some of the easiest, most chill, most manageable, but still very fun. Like you can't have too much king cake. And I realize we're all going to be a little sad because king cake season is over. So for king cake shoes, what I've got here are 3. I personally like a kind of a rounded toe because I think that kind of makes it a little more sort of like the shape of a nice rounded off baked good. So I've got here 3 rounded pumps, and I'm going to get started glittering these. And so what I did at the end of the season is regrettably, I already started doing this, so you kind of have to just believe me. You have to kind of accept that I'm telling you I did this. I, at the end of the season, have like a lot of little, let me just show you. So I've kind of been pulling the stuff that is, one second, I got to let the cat in. Do you want to be in here? Do you want to be in, or you're just mad the door's closed? Oh, okay. Ooh, I opened the door and she was not actually interested in coming into the craft room. Surprise, surprise. She just wants to scratch at the door because, you know, like she's the FBI. So at the end of the season, I have like a bunch of these little jars. I don't know if you can see that well. It's almost empty. Like this is, we're down to the, oh, hey, baby girl. We're down to the dregs, you know? So this is a little bit of strawberry honeymoon. I've got a little bit of some gingerbread. And I personally, so that I can find stuff fast, I tend to peel the craft culture sticker off and hand write. And I also hand write if something's clean, if it's kind of medium, and I use medium stuff for top coat, for first coats, so that I can save really clean glitter for the coat that shows, the second coat. So I've got all these kind of little dregs, sort of bits and bobs, and they are clean-ish, but not like I wouldn't put them on the second coat or third coat, whatever's the last coat I'm doing. I do at least 2 coats always. And in cases of iridescent semi-sheers, I will sometimes go as high as 3 coats if I feel called to that. So I've gotten out, you're going to maybe notice, I've got some green. What I've been saving here is to show y'all, this isn't a dregs, this is a big jar of Invisible Jet, because whenever I'm doing a white shoe, I do a coat of Invisible Jet first and then I paint. But we're going to do that later. Later we're going to have some white shoes all together. My hair is bothering me, but I also think it's just that I'm not used to doing videos, and so I feel weird looking at myself. So I'm just going to stop worrying about it and only look at the glitter. So what I've done is kind of gone through and rounded up all my little dregs jars. I have like a half full gingerbread, and she's pretty clean. So I might, I have a big jar of gingerbread and a little jar of gingerbread, so I will probably just marry those. Yeah. And save your little jars. So she goes into the pile to kind of go back into, she'll go back. I have all my glitter organized by color, so I'll put her into her little spot. But I've got a little bit of honeymoon. I've got a little bit of gingerbread that didn't fit when I married the Ketchup's gingerbread house. So what I did is I went through and I got all the dregs of all my toasty golds. So like Louis First Horn, Cafe au Lait. You don't want to do the brassy golds. So I would not put Golden Band from Tigerland. I would not put Amon Ra or Fort Knox, or even like Disc Dancer or Queen Bee. Those are going to have so much like of that brassy quality in them that they aren't going to look nice and toasty. But Louis First Horn, Baked with Love, gingerbread, even if you have a little bit of baklava, those would all be perfectly. So Louis First Horn, Cafe au Lait, Baked with Love, Gingerbread House. Gingerbread House has a little bit of a kind of chocolatey quality to it, a little bit more toasty, but it'll all even out. So I take all of those little dregs, the kind of little less than a quarter full, and I make myself a little mix of all of those. And I would love to filter her, but I'm not totally sure where my filter is. She'll turn up as I clean up my craft room. I've got one of those little strainers that we sell at the shop that'll take the big chunks out. But also right now we're just doing, Fanny is here. Right now we're just doing base coats. So Fanny says hi, everyone. Right now we're just doing base coats. So if later we want to go to a cleaner glitter, we can, or we can see how it looks. We can see if the bits and the bobs bother us. One of the nice things about the king cake is you kind of make that base coat, but then you do cover it with your fake frosting. So, meh. I've got my 3 rounded toed shoes. I'm making my kind of mix. Put a little bit of toasty in there. And if you don't have this, if you don't have dregs, if you've kept all your glitter clean and lovely, I would just get myself an 8-ounce bag of Baked with Love, and that's going to rock me out all my king cakes, all my po' boys, which is the next thing we're going to do. King cakes, po' boys, pizzas. We're starting with things that are baked so that we can start we can assembly line it a little bit so that we're efficient in getting things done, but also we aren't going crazy with boredom. I used to be very hard on myself. I've talked about this many times before. I used to be very, very hard on myself about every single shoe being completely different in its own thing. And then I have 2 outstanding lieutenants. One of my 2 lieutenants, I think they both do it. My lieutenants, Carrie and Kimberly, they do shoes in like collections. So it'll be like all the mermaid shoes, and it'll be like 6 to 8 shoes that are all kind of the same color scheme, the same kind of vibe, the same kind of trim, but each one is different because they're made by hand. And so I think of it, it's going to sound a little pretentious, but I don't think it is. I think like great artists do collections. Like Picasso has his blue period, and like Georgia O'Keeffe, certainly she had a mountain that she painted many, many times. And that's one of my favorite paintings at NOMA is the Georgia O'Keeffe mountain. And like had themes that she did over and over and over again. So I think letting yourself have permission to do batches of things, to kind of do little collections as an artist, that's a very important development for me. I think not only am I letting myself make more shoes, which is great, and I don't think anybody's like, oh, I don't want a butterfly garden if anyone else in the world has a butterfly garden. That is certainly not my impression of how people feel about art. And each one is handmade. Each one is different. So, hey, girly. Fanny's going to crash around a little bit, and that's just how we're going to be. To be fair, in her defense, the tables are extremely covered with stuff, so it's hard for her to get to. I got a little box, and I cut a hole in it, and I fed the cord so that she could have a little heaty pad in the corner. So she's got a box with a heat pad, and that way she can hang out with me. She prefers to be in my workspace because that's where I'm focusing, but you know, we all have things we want, Fanny. All right, so I've put together all the little dregs. So I've probably got like 4 ounces of glitter there, of just a little bit of gingerbread, a little bit of Louis First Horn, a little bit of Cafe au lait, a little bit of Baked with Love. And when I do that, I want to remember that it's a blend, that it's sort of the same vibe as Baked with Love, but it isn't Baked with Love. Because if I go in and do a touch-up, I need to know if I'm actually matching or not. Otherwise, it'll kind of look weird, like when you like fill in a hole in your wall with like caulk, you have to paint it over with the same paint. If it's close, you'll see it. So I give them names that are similar but slightly different. So when I make a mix of Baked with Love-esque glitters, I call it Get Baked or Let's Get Baked, you know, because that's funny. These are the things that amuse me. All right, so I've got my 4-ounce container of Get Baked. I'm going to set that over there, and then we're going to do those in a moment. The other stuff, and I found in my searching, in my organization, I found some glitter snow, and so I'm keeping this with, we're organizing everybody, like coworkers are sticking together. So the king cake frosting is going to hang out with the Baked with Love and the king cake shoes. Everybody in that spot. So the other stuff that I've got here, I've got 2 Sail On Silver Girl jars. So I'm I'm going to go ahead and marry those, but I'm going to leave myself a little bit because I want to make one of my absolute favorite confetti glitter combinations is Sail On Silver Girl, which is the 1mm, and DEA Badge Silver. So this is DEA Badge Silver. It's pretty clean. We're probably good to go on that. So I'm going to fill that about halfway, save myself a little DEA Badge Silver just in case I need it. And I'm going to mix those together because that's the silver I wanted to use on my other 3 shoes, which, no spoilers, I suppose, are going to be pizza slices. So I've got my 3 round-toed, and then I've got actually more than 3, but we'll see how the time shakes out. But I would encourage you to see how doing 3 feels to you. If it feels like you're doing 3 and by the time you get to the 3rd one, you're just like out of your mind aggravated with it, then maybe drop down to 2 and see if just doing 2, because sometimes you get that pair of shoes and they're really a distinctive thing and you can make the pair, you can do the same design, the same general inspiration on that pair. All right, so my clean Sail On Silver Girl and my clean DEA Badge Silver, I'm going to put into my pile to file away. And then I've got various other bits that I'm going to do for the pizza shoe. So for the pizza, I need the silver for the back of the shoe. I wonder if it's the box that is tempting her. I put all my little dregs in a box. I'm wondering if that's what tempted her. All my little dregs. So that's my DEA Badge and Silver Girl, Sail On Silver Girl. I just mixed her. Again, if you don't have that in your stash, that is what I would recommend buying fresh, but you can also just mix all your silvers together and make yourself a little especial silver. Because what I'm going to be doing is these, I kind of call them, I consider them like slice shoes that look like slices. These are great for making pie slices or cake slices, or in this case today, we're going to do pizza slices. I find this style of shoe is very popular in thrift stores. I think maybe it's having a fashion moment. I don't know very much about fashion. I can sort of tell what's in based on what's at the thrift store. Like we aren't seeing a lot of wedges, and I would like the wedge to come back because I like a nice big wedge for a nice surface area. Anyway, so I've got these, and you can use flat ones. Flat ones also work, but what you're looking for is basically a shoe that has that kind of triangle in the front. And I've got a bunch of these. I've been collecting them. So yeah, I've got a couple more. I've got probably about a dozen of these, and I'll probably do these. What I like about the pizza shoes is they're very cute, but they're not hard to do. They come out really adorable, and I think it's just a good way to kind of have shoes. And what I really love about pizza shoes is, well, I have boys. I have an 11 and an 8-year-old. So I like to throw shoes to boys because I feel like they don't necessarily get quite as much shoe love. And I think a slice of pizza is a really fun thing to throw to like a teen or a tween or even a pre-tween boy. I think that's fun. I think everybody likes pizza, and I think a slice of pizza is like, I think that's a little bit like, oh, it's a shoe that looks like something else, and that's a kind of an easy bridge into shoe art. So we've got our DEA Badge Silver. We've already got our Baked with Love. And on the Baked with Love, we're going to do our king cake shoes. I'm pointing over here. We're going to do our king cake shoes. We're going to do the whole shoe, all of it. That's part of why a king cake goes so fast, is it's monochromatic. It is very beautiful to put 9 different colors of glitter on your throw, but every time you switch colors, you have to let the color before it dry completely. So if you're doing monochrome, it's just a little bit more chill. It'll go a little bit faster. So that's just one of the easiest tips for like picking up a little efficiency in a short season, is the fewer colors you do, the faster it will go. I'm not saying don't do a lot of colors. I love a lot of colors. It's beautiful. It shows effort. It shows intention. It shows artistry. But bear in mind that if you're doing one color on a shoe, it's just going to go faster. So we're going to do the entire shoe, 3 shoes with our Baked with Love dupe, our Baked with Love, our Get Baked. And on these, I've already done the silver on these, so you would have to catch up with me on that. If I get some more of these at the thrift store, I'm going to go thrifting next week. If I get some more slice shoes at the store, I will do that, because I would like to actually time how long things take. I want to actually do every step with y'all so that we have a realistic sense of what we do. Because that way, if somebody jumps in the fall, they can kind of say, all right, these 3 shoes took her, 2 hours, but these 3 shoes, she kind of did them faster. So I would like to actually do that, but do as I say, not as I do. Imagine that you were with me for the first step of this, which was just putting that base silver on there. The next thing we're going to do on our pizza shoes, these are just all getting baked with love all over, and we'll do that in a moment. The next thing we're going to do on our pizza shoes is you do crust, so baked with love first. Let that dry. Everywhere where the slice of pizza would be, and not the, I think this is the like serving thingy. I don't know what the technical term is for like the pointy shaped wedgie thing that you serve your slice of pizza with. So the silver is the wedgie servy guy, and then this is going to be baked with love, let it dry. And then we're going to paint on some red, which is why I have some red dregs here. We're going to make pizza sauce. If you were buying pizza sauce from scratch, if you didn't have little red dregs that you were going to mix together, the other thing about the pizza is it's great because it can use up a lot of little dregs, and I'll explain by that what I mean by that. So I've got some, this was at the start of the season, this was clean-ish Moms, and it has since sort of migrated to, you know, it's not bad, but it's also, I'm not going to use, if I'm doing like a ruby slipper or like a shoe that I want the shoe to be red, I wouldn't necessarily use my slightly contaminated, but it's great for pizza sauce because pizza sauce has like spices and herbs and little toasty, you know, all sorts of things. So it's the pizza shoe is extremely forgiving of slight contamination, slight imperfections, slight mixes in your materials. So I've got my clean-ish Moms. I've got some clean-ish ruby slipper. It's like 1/2 ounce. And again, save your littles. But that's going to be my pizza sauce. And all right, we've done the baked with love. All right, we've done baked with love. We've done silver for our second coat, and I've got red for pizza sauce. So the other thing I want to play with, and I have a little bag here. So the other thing to play, so you do dough, let it dry. Sauce, let it dry. And then you're going to do your cheese. And that you want to kind of do with, I'll show y'all how, but you probably want to use white metallic paint. So that, I'm going to keep that with the supplies. I'll show y'all how we do the cheese when we get there. But the thing about cheese is I use a lot of yellow because I love it so very much. So I've got some slightly contaminated Country Roads, which if you were buying clean, I would buy baked with love. I would get an 8-ounce bag, and that's going to do all 3 of your king cakes, all 3 of your pizza slices, and also the next thing we do is going to be po' boys with flip-flops, but that'll be next. But you'll kind of keep, if we work in colors in batches, we'll be able to work efficiently. So I've got some Country Roads that has some little bits in it. But again, I think it just looks like spices and whatever. This is a blend I did for a custom transfer I needed to do. I was matching like a little, the sunset and the sky sort of looked a little bit orange, a little bit yellow. And again, you can leave some of the little bits in, but what I'm doing here is just kind of pouring it out and getting any big pieces out. If I were really disciplined, I would filter everything, but you know, you can absolutely do that, and I am envious of your discipline. But you know, we're also perfectly fine to just roll with it as is. So I'm going to add that custom. What it is a little Country Roads with a little bit of persimmon pudding, just to make it kind of look like a pretty sunshiny sky. Gonna mix her up. And then I've got 2 all axed for yellows that I got contamination in. I don't think you can see it, but trust me that there's just a little bit of like 1 millimeter confetti in there. So I don't want to use that as a yellow. So if I was doing like a Hubix pie and I was doing like a yellow background, a nice like lemon yellow, I wouldn't want to use my contaminated all axed for yellow. But because I'm making cheese, I'm going to take that. I'll pick out a few little bits, but mostly we're just going to assume that some yummy herbs and spices got into the cheese, and that was part of what happened. So I've got those, and then I'm going to take some of my Invisible Jet, because what I mostly use Invisible Jet for is as a base coat when I'm doing semi-shears. But what I love about Invisible Jet is it gives a like creaminess. So if you mix Invisible Jet with a semi-shear, it will lighten it, but also in a way that sort of looks cheesy. So I've got a little bit already going. We're gonna make a really big bag of cheese. And like, who's mad about that? So one contaminated all X-free yellow, 2 contaminated all X-free yellow, 1 Country Roads with a little bit of sunshine. If you don't know all the names of the glitters, I probably sound like I'm absolutely having a stroke. All right, anybody else? Everybody? No, that's everybody. All right, so we got our nice bag. And that's gonna be our cheese, our mozzarella cheese melted on top of the pizza. And like I said, I have about a dozen of these, so I can certainly go through this. But what I am gonna do for the purposes of people knowing kind of what amounts they should approximately use. Yeah, see, that looks great. I might lighten it up just a smidge more. And the pizza is a great opportunity to get a little more confident with your mixing. I know people get a little nervous about mixing their glitters. I promise it's gonna be okay. But I also understand nervousness about mixing your glitter. If glitter is very precious to you, you want to keep all your glitter lovely and pristine. I totally get that. But also, let's roll and see what happens. So what I'm going to do for the purposes of like demo is I'm going to take one of my empty jars. Yeah, I should probably filter this. Where is my filter? I ask where is it, like there aren't 40,000 things in my space right now. But I wanted to kind of get going, and I wanted to show y'all what the process looks like as I, pool all my bits and bobs and kind of how I repurpose things and how I work throughout the year, in case some of you were wanting to work throughout the year. So what I'm going to do is I have refilled one of my guys, one of the jars that I used. And if I use the jar that I just used, I won't get cross-contamination. I peeled the sticker off. And then I'm gonna label her cheese. Because I love cheese. All right, so now, just to recap, we have got DEA badge silver to do the pizza serving utensils. We have got a big old thing of Let's Get Baked to do our king cake shoes and to do the slices on the pizza. DEA badge, Let's Get Baked, DEA badge. We've got, I married a medium clean mom with a medium clean ruby slipper, and so I've got a nice little jar of sauce. And I'm actually, to keep my ducks in a row, this is, anything worth doing is worth overdoing. To keep my ducks in a row, I'm gonna take the label off, because you never know when you're going to put stuff down and not come back for years and years. So I'm going to write pizza sauce. Boop, boop. All right. Baked with love, DEA badge silver, pizza sauce, cheese. And then the last 2 things that I'm going to mix for my pizza. And I don't need to do these quite yet, but since I'm doing this kind of triage where instead of throwing away the dregs or putting them into pure especial, I'm kind of partitioning them a little bit, so I save myself a little bit of purchasing, because we want our throws to be, for the money we put into our throws, we want to save wherever we can, certainly, so that we can be even more generous. I'm collecting my empty jars for various things. So I've got my Baked with Love, I've got my DEA badge silver, I've got my cheese, I've got my tomato sauce. And I will say, if you're not doing this, if you're not doing the pooling of the dregs, the where and oh the green, you would do Baked with Love, 8-ounce bag, DEA badge silver. You can probably get away with a 2-ounce jar, but DEA badge silver is outstanding. So, I mean, you're never going to not use it all up. DEA badge silver, if you like a little extra drama, I would get myself a Baby Bear confetti of Sail On Silver Girl and go ahead and spike her, and I'll show y'all what that looks like, but it's totally worth it. And then I would just get Mom's Creole Tomato if I was buying brand new, if I was making a shopping list, and I would get Country Roads as my cheese if I wasn't doing this kind of reduce, reuse, recycle vibe. So the other thing I'm gonna do is I need to make, the last two things that I need to make are sausage color, or pepperoni. Sorry, not sausage. You could do sausage, I guess. You could put anything on your pizza that you want to put on your pizza. You know, if you want to put ham and pineapple and whatever, I'm not the glitter cops. Do whatever you want. I personally like the way it looks to put little red pepperonis and slices of green onion. Not green onion, green pepper. Green onion does exist, but it's not what I put. You know, we're getting back into the flow of things. We're a little rusty, but we're fine. So this is kind of what the pepperonis are going to look like. So we need to mix kind of it's a slightly more burgundy colored red. So I would mix, I was going through my stash. I did a burgundy blend for someone who was doing a Texas A&M shoe. So I think A&M is going to be a really nice sausage color. And then for the green, for the little peppers, I like a little bit of Gumbo Z in there, but I don't currently have any contaminated Gumbo Z, so I might put a splash, but just a splash. What I do have is a little jar of, it's a mix of Grace's Green Card and Almond Rock, as I was doing an ombre, a purple, green, and gold ombre. And so it kind of is a nice greeny color. I've got a tiny bit, not even really any, it's basically an empty jar, of Nikki de Saint-Fael, which is one of my favorite greens. I've got a little jar of, I think this is Grace's Green Card. Again, it's not much. We're kind of at the dregs, but this is no longer so clean that I can put it on a top coat. I do keep, so just so y'all know what my process is, I have like a big old thing of, this is all, whenever I sweep up the green or I get to a dregs of a green, I have like my primary like colors. I have like green and I have like, you know, red and stuff. So I do have these, and this is what I do for top coats. So I have like my red top coat glitter, not for every single color I do, but for certain ones. I have like a Special Noir and a Special Gold and like that. So I do kind of partition my Special a little bit so that I can use it as a slightly cleaner first coat. Anyway, so I've got a little bit of Grace's Green Card that isn't really like clean. I could put it into my Special, my green Special for base coats, but I'm not going to do that on this occasion because I'm making my green pepper mix. Oh, I've got a few more. All right, this is... All right. I do actually have a little bit of Gumbo Z that's contaminated. So Gumbo Z goes into there. Love Gumbo Z. Probably one of my most favoritist colors. And then I've got a little bit. That's a mix of Grace's Green Card and Gumbo Z. Love, love. And then I've got, I don't know what to tell y'all. I just have to put this in there. I got at Chewbacca's, I got Sharknado Repellent. And it's just a 1mm green. So I gotta use it, and that I think is a funny place to use it. So I'm putting it in the green mix. All right, that's all my greens, which is fine, because that's gonna be plenty. We'll do the peppers a little later. I'll show y'all how that works. But let me see how my mix looks and if I'm happy with where she stands. Because I can take a little bit of something else clean. It's not like you can't use clean stuff. It's just about using what you have efficiently. You know, because we love efficiency. All right, she looks pretty good. So my green pepper mix, you know, a little bit of Grace's Green Card. And I'll probably, as I start assembling, I'll do some overhead because y'all know I'm pointing to the overhead like y'all can see where it is. All right. Baked with Love, DEA badge silver, but also just mixes of silver. Tomato sauce, cheese, green pepper. Last thing, I have a decent amount of this pepperoni mix from the last time I made. Pizza shoes, so I'm probably good to go on that. I'll put a little bit of my A&M in it. My A&M is pretty clean. I just don't use it that much, so I think using it for the pepperonis is kind of a smart move. If you don't have anything like that, you can do a mix of your red You could mix the red that went into your pizza sauce. You could do some in your pizza sauce, some in your pepperoni, and just add a little bit of one of your browns. Bittersweet Symphony would kind of make your red a little bit more pepperoni-ish. All right, so she looks good. And I've got some little red dots. I don't know if we have them at the moment, but you could get some 1 millimeter because I think that makes the pepperoni look a little more textured and interesting. So you could do like the 1 millimeter blood red would be great. Or if you have red dots, if you have like the Blood Moon confetti, something like that, those would be great additions to your pepperoni mix. All right, so we are all ready to go. We kind of made our own little set there. Just out of dregs, just out of things that we couldn't really use for other things, and now we're ready to make our pizzas. So today we aren't gonna stress ourselves out too much. We have these and we're gonna keep them handy. We're not gonna put them away because this is coming up soon, so I'm putting let me do this. Come on. This one's so old that like the label won't peel off. That's okay. I'll take a... And I'll clean those jars out later. Probably I'll like Swiffer them out. If you're cleaning out jars, I like to kind of give it a tap and then Swiffer it. I don't think I have any Swiffers at the moment because at the end of the season, Swiffers, you know. Swiffers are precious. Swiffers have all been used up. All right, so that's going to be my bell pepper. Bell pepper. Okay. So for the time being, we do not need the cheese, but I'm glad we did it while we were doing everything. We do not need the cheese. We do not need the bell pepper. We do not need the pepperoni. We do not need the sauce. Today, we do not need the DEA badge silver for the slicer, the serving thingy. I realize I am not at my usual level of polish, which is not even a particularly high level of polish. But we're getting back into it, you know? So, I've got a stack of scrap paper that I use when I'm glittering. I might be out of Aleene's, but hopefully I'm not, so we'll see. Because this year, I got into the habit of mixing a little Aleene's and Mod Podge together. My business partner, Lizette, got me into that habit, and this year it really needed it. Mod Podge, I think, maybe got a little thinner. I'm not trying to like come for the Mod Podge people, but I think their formula got a little thinner. I found it did not stick without the Aleene's. All right, so starting out. Got I save old yogurt containers and clean them out. As y'all know, I buy Mod Podge by the gallon. So I'm gonna glug some Podge in there. I try to not work in huge batches because anytime I'm switching, got some Mod Podge on my face. Anytime I'm switching to like a semi-shear, I need it to be clean. So I don't like fill this up. I do a little bit, enough to work with. You can do a different size of Mod Podge. I would obviously have no judgment for whatever size of Mod Podge works for you. I like to get a big yogurt container and kind of dilute it down. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a little tacky glue. I store the tacky glue upside down because it's a little thick. I store a lot of things upside down. That's kind of tricks of the trade. So I kind of eyeball this. Blah, blah, blah. There you go. And then all the things that I used for ingredients, but I didn't necessarily use all of them, I will refile those, if you will. This is just my post-carnival cleanup. All right. I need to clean all my brushes, but again, I wanted to get started on this process with y'all. So I keep my brushes wet and clean them from time to time so that I'm not just absolutely ridiculous. So I have added the Mod Podge and Aleene's together. You do need to give them a little bit of a stir, kind of let them become friends because the Aleene's is quite thick. So you don't want to be just like only dealing with the Aleene's. And I know this is such beginner stuff, but we're going to do the whole, I don't know where people are at. So we're all going to start at the same spot. Maybe you just found out you're riding for the first time in Muses and it's like December for you and you're pulling this video up to get started. You want to do like some fun, easy shoes. And you're like, wait, you mix what with what and how? So I'm here for everyone. All right, so that's nice and mixed. Good thickness. I'm happy with her. So when you are glittering, you always need to leave yourself a handle. So don't cover this with glue. You need to be able to move it around, twisty, so that you can get all the nooks and crannies. So because she is monochromatic, we're gonna do the outside and the inside and let it dry. So we are getting started. Here we are, look at us, starting on our 2027 shoes. Just saying it out loud makes me feel better. That is prescription strength anti-anxiety medication right there, getting started. And as the gals at the shop sometimes say, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. So just stay in glitter mode and give in to the glitter and don't even try to clean the glitter out of your house. And then think how excited you would be if all your shoes were done in December. Think how excited I'm going to be. I'm manifesting it. I'm going to be done all my shoes in December. I believe. I almost sounded like I believed that. I'm going to we're going to divide it up. We're going to go on a nice little regimented path. Some chill shoes, some wacky shoes, all glitter, all love. All right, so I did that a little fast. Do not feel the need to go as fast. But she's got glue, outside, inside, ready to go. I'm gonna do my baked mix. And I'll see how far my baked mix carries me. It could be that by the time I get to the end of my shoes, I've used all this up and I'm gonna buy a fresh, clean, baked with love 8-ounce bag. That would be just fine. But I know this is close enough that I'm not gonna be stressed about layering. Now, in general, you don't really need to stress about layering if you're layering opaques. Like I could be doing any color on this knowing that baked with love was gonna go on top. It's just an added level of cleanliness. But you could base coat all your shoes with DEA badge silver and then put metallics on the top. You could base coat them all with a Special and then put baked with love on top. You could absolutely do that. It would be a little less expensive, and maybe a little less tidy. So that's totally up to you. All right, one down. Set her down. Second verse, same as the first. So we're just gonna crank these gals out. We're just gonna do 1, 2, 3. And if it's a little messy and I've got bald spots and I miss things, no problem. We're just base coating our first 3 shoes of the 2027 season. You gotta start somewhere, and this is where we're starting. I will also say I like to use a slightly lower heel for a king cake because I think it's a little cuter. The more elevated the heel becomes, the more you lose that kind of oval. So I tend to save my high heels for like really dramatic shoes. So if I've got a really high heel, like that's going to be a butterfly garden. That's going to be something a little bit more, dramatic. For my king cakes, I think a sweet, cute. I would love all of my shoes to be skyscrapers. I would love every shoe I do to be like a big old gorgeous stripper heel silhouette. But until I have more stripper friends, we're going to work with what we've got. And I want people to have the flexibility to work with what they have. Even if I had a million stripper shoes, I couldn't necessarily tell y'all to do that because like everybody's starting from a different place. So I think this silhouette is it looks like somebody just like took a king cake and like just like bent it a little bit. Like you can still sort of see the king cake happening. Maybe that's just me. And I'm realizing as I like make my shopping list for like what I'm looking for when I thrift, as I do this like 3 shoes a month for 10 months project, I'm realizing like these little things that I do in my head. Muses will very often say, not the organization. I would like to be clear that I never speak for the organization. I am in the crew of Muses, but I do not. Sometimes people are like, well, what about this? What about that? I'm like, that is above my pay grade. I don't know. I am here to have good vibes, glitter shoes, not know anything and have drinks. All right, so she's nice but y'all see what I mean? That she kind of has that oval quality. She kind of already feels king cakey. That in Muses, meaning women who are in the crew of Muses, not the crew of Muses. Muses will often say that they let the shoe speak to them. And by that, I think what we mean is the shape of the shoe kind of tells you what it's going to work with conceptually. So I like the rounded toes and the kind of not hugely high heels for king cakes because I think it just evokes the shape. One of the shoes that we are going to do a little later on, I'm going to show y'all how to make the ring box shoes, the shoe where the shoe is either white for a wedding shoe or an engagement ring shoe, or I love to do a Tiffany blue shoe with a ribbon on it and I put the big rings in them. You've maybe seen those on my posts or elsewhere. I like to use a really pointy shoe for those, and I realized the reason I like that is because I think the nice sharp corner really evokes a box. It really gives you that geometric like constraint. So these are not things you necessarily have to consider, but I do think it helps kind of like unlock you artistically. If you're kind of holding a shoe and you're like, what is she shaped like? Is she pointy like something really geometric, or is she a little bit more rounded? If she's kind of pointy, maybe she's a box. If she's a little rounded, maybe she's a king cake. Who's to say? I love it when somebody holds up a shoe and shows me and is like, oh my God, look at this. Like the heel looks like a bottle and I'm going to do like a brunch. She's going to be champagne. I love that. I love hearing the stories of the shoes speaking to people. So we are already about 3 shoes in, and it's not a whole shoe, but it's a start. You know, a couple hours a week. We'll see where we get. My sense is that if we do just a little at a time, we're going to have so much done, and then we can relax and kind of like batten down the hatches, because the short carnival season, that can be tough. It's always kind of a rush to get everything done that you want to get done. But I think especially in a short carnival season, a nice head start is just going to give you your joy. And that's always what I'm after. I'm always trying to help people preserve their joy, because during the season you get very worked up, like, oh, I don't have enough of this, or when am I going to finish that, or when am I going to pick this up from this person, and I bought this, but like I wish it was it's very normal, I think, to get caught up in that, because you want that experience, that generosity. There she is. So we've got 1, 2, 3 little round-toed girls who are gonna be king cakes later. Right now, we're just gonna let these dry and move on to our pizza slices. So just as I did that, I saw a bald spot. I've been doing this for like 15 years. I've done thousands of shoes, and I still miss the very front and the very back. I don't know why those are my blind spots, but they are. All right. So I've got those 3 girls set aside to dry. If you've got a dehydrator or a fan, by all means, get it. But I'm just doing this at the most leisurely pace that I can. All right, time now for my pizza slices. So I would do the coat of silver first. So imagine that I did that. And the nice thing when you're working kind of in the same color is like I've got a little bit of gold on my workspace. But because I'm doing more of the same, I'm not really stressed about completely like changing the sheets, you know? When I do white work, I have to like clean everything. I gotta be ready to do like cardiothoracic surgery in here before I start doing white or yellow or hot pink. Those are my divas, and that's just how it is. All right, so just doing the pizza slice. And what we will do next time, oh, hey, girly. Fanny's asleep on the rug. She's very cute. What we'll do next time is make the crust, because you are going to have to get like the nooks and crannies of the crust. You might find that you prefer, in general, I say assemble then glitter. In this case, because the crust, I'm going to make it out of like rope. Because the crust is so nook and cranny, I think it helps to kind of get that base first. But if when I do the crust, you see it and you're like, oh, I actually would rather wait and do it like that, that's cool too. All right. She's going to be a pizza slice. Look at us. We have touched 4 shoes, and we are not even an hour into our 2027 glittering season. So I'm actually going to do a ton of these, but for the purposes of this, I won't. For the purposes of this, I'll stop at 3 so that we all are kind of on the same page. So if you were watching this and you're like, oh, yes, I'm going to do king cakes, but I'm not going to do pizza, or vice versa, totally cool. But I want to give y'all the tools to succeed. Oh, which reminds me, I got off track because I started talking about something else, which is par for the course for me. I want to help people preserve their joy. I'm not saying don't worry about it, because some amount of like that nervous energy, and I want to have enough throws. I want to make the best throws I can. I have this vision for this thing I want to do, and it's kind of nuts, but like I want to stretch myself and I want to see what happens. Some amount of that like nervous, that like, oh, what's going to happen? I think that is part of the fun, but I think you need to remember that that's for you. So if you are enjoying that, if that feels really good to you, that kind of, oh, I'm going to push myself and I'm scared, what's going to happen? You know, oh, I made this transfer, took me forever, and now I have to place it. Like, some amount of that I think is part of the experience and part of the fun and part of the sort of joy of making throws. But if you're starting to really get upset and feel like you don't have enough, just remember that they are gifts. And you know, you can never have too much, but you can never have too little. Like whatever you have, you have. And so I'm not saying, oh, you need to stress out and like get all your shoes done ahead of time. I'm just saying, imagine how good it would feel to have a big fat head start and be like cruising into the season, like well rested and just fat on glitter. And just, I think I'm trying to give that gift to myself as well. So I'm not just saying that. All right. So real quick, we popped out the base level crust on our first 3 pizza shoes. So the next, we're going to need to do some big touch-ups on our silver. That's okay. That's part of the thing. Touch-ups are no problem. I only have a first coat of silver on these. I only have a first coat of gold on these. I only started doing gold on my king cake shoes. And if I was feeling ambitious, I could start making toppings, but I'm not feeling ambitious. I'm feeling like being gentle with myself. So I feel really good that I got that started. So I've got 1, 2, 3. Let me show y'all. All right, I got 1, 2, 3. And I got 1, 2. It's hard to display them. 1, 2, 3. So these are all gonna dry. I've still got plenty of baked with love, so we'll see where I get. And by baked with love, I mean get baked, the sort of mixed one. So that's our starting place. It's been a little under an hour, but I think that's a great starting point. So if you wanted to kind of turn it on and get started, that's a great place to get started. And I am going to be back probably I'm going to shoot for about weekly, and we'll see where we get. But I'm going to start posting to like shopping lists so people can kind of get their ducks in a row or kind of dig in their stash for stuff. I think what I'm probably going to do is map out what 2 shoes we're going to do each month for 10 months. And that way you can kind of pick and choose and be like, oh, in 3 months, we're going to do the butterfly garden. I really want to pull all the little flowers out of my stash or whatever. So that's kind of my plan. I will post the rough trajectory kind of as I have it, and changes might happen because we're sort of wheeling and dealing here. But that is the plan. Just 3 shoes a month for 10 months, and you will go into the season so ready. And you might still add stuff. Last minute stuff always comes up. Somebody's like, oh, I need this for, I need this. Somebody got engaged and I really need this extra thing. Or, oh my God, we got a promotion and like, please, can we have a shoe for totally. But imagine going in, like being at the end of the year, getting to December and having 30 shoes, or in my case, 60, because it's me and my sister, having that level of head start on your shoes. Think how good that would feel. And let's just have that. Let's just have that relaxation and prep and head start together so that we can have the most fun possible in that short season. So thank you all for joining me. If you have questions, comments, Anything you'd like to talk about, reach out to me through my messages on Instagram is usually a little easier, or you can leave a comment here. People mostly don't comment here, which is totally, you do you. And so yeah, thank you. I will see you guys soon. We have got this. Nobody panic about the short carnival. We are going to get through it with love and togetherness and glitter. I will see you guys soon. No. Sorry, y'all. I don't remember how to stop.